Alaikum warahmatullah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. We continue in our series on Surah Yusuf, and we reach the part where Yusuf alayhi salam has been giving da'wah to the prisoners with him. After they asked him about this dream, their dreams that they had. One of them had the dream of carrying the bread over his head, while the other one had the dream of pressing wine. So Yusuf alayhi salam gave them da'wah, and after he gives them da'wah, now he comes back to interpreting the dreams for them. And he says, "O my companions, one of you will give drink to his master of wine, but as for the other, he will be crucified and the birds will eat from his head. قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ, that this matter has been decreed, الَّذِي فِيهِ تَسْتَفْتِيَانِ, that this matter that has been decreed about which you inquire." Ibn Kathir narrates and says here in this verse actually, rahimahullah, Yusuf alayhi salam, he says, one of you will this, one of you will that. And he doesn't directly address the prisoners. And Ibn Kathir says this is because he's not giving them good news, right? He's giving one of them very bad news, you're going to be killed, right? And so Yusuf alayhi salam indirectly says, one of you this will happen, one of you that will happen. Even though you could, based on their job descriptions, what they used to do in the past, we know who it is. But to soften the blow, if you will, for the one who will be crucified. And Yusuf alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, goes to the one that will be free. And he says to him, when you go to your king, don't forget to talk to him about my case. Okay? Don't forget to tell him and mention me before your master. اذكرني عند ربك. فأنساه الشيطان ذكر ربه. So Shaitan made the man to forget mentioning him, mentioning Yusuf. فلبث في السجن بضع سنين. And so Yusuf alayhi salam remained in prison for several years. When you look at the Arabic, there's two different ways you can interpret the ayah. The first, Yusuf alayhi salam tells him, both of them are linguistically, in the language, correct, because only the pronouns are used, not the specific names. But one of them, we'll get to the meanings of it. One of them doesn't make as much sense as the other that we should accept. The first is that Yusuf alayhi salam tells the man, mention me before your king, but Shaitan made the man forget. Okay? But Shaitan made the man forget, so Yusuf alayhi salam remained in prison for a while. The second way to interpret it is that Yusuf told the man to take his case to the king, but Yusuf was wrong in doing so, and Shaitan had made Yusuf forget about his Lord. So the first one, Shaitan made this man forget mentioning to his Lord. This one here, Shaitan made Yusuf forgot to mention his Lord. Now, both of them are, again, in the language are correct, but obviously we would follow the opinion that, or the interpretation that, it was the man who was made to forget to mention to his king the story. The word bid'a sinin in Arabic means anywhere between 3 to 9 years, so quite a while, okay? Almost a decade. And it's also not far-fetched to believe that the man forgot about Yusuf's case. I mean, how many of us, it's just in the nature of mankind to only focus on yourself, right? Especially when you're imprisoned and you become free, it's much harder to think about other people. And so, the Prophet ﷺ tells us that whoever doesn't truly thank the people for what they do to them does not really truly thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as Muslims, we should not embody that concept of selfishness, etc. But we should be thankful and grateful to other people. This man is coming to Yusuf alayhi salam, and Yusuf alayhi salam is helping him and assisting him. And the man should have been more thankful to Yusuf alayhi salam and forced himself or tried to make sure that he took his request more serious. But regardless, what happened, happened. So now, the man is free, and we're going to go through multiple verses at once, inshallah. So the man goes to the king, he works in his palace, And one day the king calls all of his servants, his priests, his chiefs, his princes, etc. And he keeps having, in the Arabic language, a ru'ya, a vision, a dream constantly, multiple times, and it's sticking out in his head. And that is of, the vision of the 7 fat cows and the 7 skinny cows and the 7 ears of corn that are good and the 7 corn that are bad. We've heard the story before. Some of the things that are interesting about this is that he said to his people, "Aftuni fi ru'yaya." Then interpret my dream, in kuntum lirru'ya ta'burun. Then the next verse they says, قالوا أضغاث أحلام. Their response to him is, this is but a mixture of false dreams. In Arabic, hilm is like a false dream or a nightmare. But a ru'ya is like a true vision, a true dream. And so then, the man who was with Yusuf says, وَقَالَ الَّذِي نَجَّى مِنْهُمَا, that Yusuf alayhi salam he's freed and remembered after a time, he says, I will unabbi'ukum, I will tell you of this dream. If you let me go for some time, I'll come back with the interpret. I will inform you of the meaning of this dream. Now notice he says, I will tell you the dream, not I'm going to go ask my friend Yusuf about this dream. Okay? And we see that obviously one of the reasons for that is he's trying to be the one that's close to the king. He's trying to gain favor. Right? If he says, oh, there's a man named Yusuf, well, the king can just go get anybody to get Yusuf and come tell him the dream. But he says, I'll go do it, right? I'll get you the interpretation of the dream. I'll bring it to you. Now this man is hyping himself up. So he goes to Yusuf and he says, oh, Yusuf, oh, man of truth, right? He's buttering him up, right? He's flattering. But also, he doesn't come be like, hey, Yusuf, like, I'm so sorry what happened. He's like, hey, Yusuf, old buddy, old pal, right? My friend, man of truth. Explain to us about the 7 fat cows eaten by 7 lean cows, and 7 green spikes of grain, and others that were dry, so that I may return to the people, perhaps they will know about you. And say, I'm going to go to the king and get a promotion, right? I'll go to the people and I'll tell them about you, right? My bad, I forgot to talk to them about you before, but this time I will. And so Yusuf alayhi salam, he gives him the interpretation of the dream. He tells him, you will plant 7 years consecutively, and what you harvest, leave it in its spikes, except for what you eat, so that way it stays more fresh. And then there will come 7 difficult years in which you consume what you saved for them, except for a little which you will store. Then there will come a year after that in which the people will be given rain, in which they will press olives and grapes, making extra things such as oil, etc. And we'll wrap up with this verse. Now you notice, Yusuf alayhi salam doesn't criticize the man. He said, man, forget you. You forgot of me, forget you, right? No. He also doesn't say, okay, I'll tell you the interpretation of the dream, but what's in it for me? Right? Why don't you ask for a pardon or let the king hear my case or whatever it may be? And he tells them what the dream means. Not only does he tell them what the dream means, but he also tells them how to get out of it. Right? You're going to get 7 years of drought. That's the dream. That's interpretation. But he also tells them, make sure these 7, you save this much and you do this with it to make it last longer, and then 7, etc. And then Yusuf alayhi salam, in the last ayah we mentioned, he says, then there will come after that a year in which your people will be given rain, in which they will press olives and grapes. Okay, now go back to the dream of the king. It was 7 cows, good, 7 good grains, 7 bad cows, 7 bad grain, right? Where did this 15th year come from that Yusuf's describing? Yusuf said 7 good years, 7 bad years, and then the 15th year, this will happen. But from the dream, where did the 15th year come from?
No mention in the dream.
No mention in the dream. No explicit mention. Okay, then how did Yusuf come up with it?
He was a prophet. He must have had more.
Some wahi or something? The answer is in the verses actually. In the dream. The answer is actually in the dream. I have some gifts, It's been a while. I haven't had some gifts for some people. Now that the gifts, okay, hold on a second. Let's get the verses out, the Quran, Bismillah. Where's the 15th year from? Hamza? Huh? Last chance? Anybody? Okay. If the drought was to continue, wouldn't there have been more? Instead of 7, it would have been 8, right? Or 9 or 10. For the drought to end, there has to be an abundance of rain coming, to end it, to follow it. And so because there's only 7 and 7 shown, that means in the 15th year, it will end. And because of that, that means there will be an abundance. And so that's where Yusuf alayhi salam says, not only when, in Southern California, we're used to droughts. For a drought to end, if we get a little bit of rain, does that end our drought? No, we need like 3-4 weeks of a row, just pounding tsunami rain for the drought to end. And that's what Yusuf alayhi salam is telling them here. It will be so much that there will be extra for you even to do things that are more than necessary for just basic survival, such as pressing olives and grapes, etc., for whatever it is that their uses will be for. طيب, inshallah. Then inshallah next time we'll pick up what happens after the man returns back to the king and the king hears about the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. طيب, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who are thankful to others. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who increased in knowledge and follow in obedience. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the goodness of this life and the next life. Allahumma ameen. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى اللهم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وجزاكم الله خيرا.